Imagine a world where a single cyber attack could plunge entire cities into darkness. Recent events in Lebanon show it's not just possible, it's already happening. Welcome to our exploration of the fragility of our power grid systems. These intricate webs of electricity that power our homes, our hospitals, our very way of life are alarmingly susceptible to cyber attacks. In the case of Lebanon, these assaults on their power grid didn't just cause power outages, they triggered explosions, painting a grim picture of the potential for catastrophic outcomes. And the chilling reality is, this isn't just a problem for Lebanon, it's a global issue. Our increasing reliance on digital infrastructure, while a marvel of modern technology, also makes us vulnerable. From the streetlights guiding us home to the machinery that breathes life into hospital patients, a coordinated cyber attack could disable it all. A single, well-planned assault could result in a complete shutdown of our power grids, leaving millions without electricity, heat, or means of communication. This isn't a scenario out of a dystopian novel, it's a real tangible threat. We're living in an era where our digital fortresses can be dismantled with a few strategic keystrokes. The question is not if it will happen, but when. And when it does, will we be ready to face the darkness? To understand the magnitude of the problem, we first need to grasp how hackers infiltrate power systems. So how exactly does a cyber threat to our power grid work? Well, the first step is gaining access. Hackers are crafty and can use a variety of methods to penetrate the network. This could be through phishing emails, exploiting vulnerabilities in software, or even insider threats. Once they've gained access, they establish a foothold, often remaining undetected for months, learning the systems and mapping out the network. This is a critical phase, as the hackers are essentially laying the groundwork for their attack. The next step is the actual attack. This could range from disrupting power supply by manipulating control systems to causing physical damage by forcing equipment to operate outside of safe parameters. In some cases, the attacks could even trigger explosions, as we saw in Lebanon. But what does this mean for national security? In simple terms, it's a ticking time bomb. A successful cyber attack on a power grid could lead to widespread blackouts, affecting everything from hospitals to water treatment plants, communication networks to transportation systems. In a worst-case scenario, it could plunge entire cities into darkness, causing chaos and potentially even loss of life. The threat is not just theoretical. In recent years, we've seen a number of high-profile cyber attacks on power grids around the world. And these attacks are becoming more sophisticated. Hackers are constantly finding new ways to bypass security measures, and the rate at which these attacks are evolving is alarming. Moreover, the consequences of a successful attack are not confined to the immediate aftermath. The recovery process could take months or even years, and the cost, both in terms of financial impact and human lives, could be enormous. So it's clear that the threat to our power grids is not just a possibility, it's a reality. And it's a reality that we need to be prepared for. As we've seen, the threat to our power grids is not only real but also evolving. It's a stark reminder of the urgent need for robust cybersecurity measures and individual preparedness. Let's consider the cascading effects of a grid failure on urban and rural communities alike. The impacts of a total grid down are more than just a temporary inconvenience. They can be downright catastrophic. Firstly, think about the immediate effect of losing power. Lights go out, heating or cooling systems shut down, refrigerators stop chilling, and life as we know it grinds to a halt. But the problems don't stop there. Water treatment plants would fail, rendering tap water unsafe to drink. Gas stations would be unable to pump fuel, leading to a shortage that could grind transportation to a halt. Think about the impact on emergency services. Police, fire, and ambulance services would be stretched thin, struggling to respond to an increased number of emergencies without the aid of modern technology. Hospitals, despite having backup generators, could find themselves overwhelmed and unable to provide critical care. The ripple effects would continue to spread. Without power, our digital society would lose its ability to communicate. Cell towers would cease to function, internet connections would go down, and even landline phones could become unreliable. In a crisis situation, this lack of communication could be deadly. Consider the impact on our food supply. Supermarkets rely on electricity to keep perishables fresh. Without power, they'd have to discard massive amounts of spoiled food. Meanwhile, food production would also be disrupted as processing plants and farms rely heavily on electric power. And let's not forget the economic fallout. A grid-down situation could lead to a halt in trading, plummeting stock markets, and widespread job loss. The longer the power outage, the more severe these impacts would be. Finally, the psychological toll cannot be underestimated. Fear, stress, and uncertainty would be rampant, potentially leading to civil unrest and increased crime rates. The impacts of a grid down are far-reaching, affecting every aspect of our lives. It's a sobering thought, but it's crucial to understand the potential consequences in order to be prepared. So, what can governments and individuals do to protect against such attacks? Let's delve into some potential solutions and preventive measures. Firstly, on a governmental level, there's a pressing need for stronger cybersecurity infrastructure. Governments need to invest in advanced threat detection systems and dedicated cybersecurity teams to monitor and combat cyber threats. Equally important is the establishment of stringent security protocols for power grid systems, including regular system audits and vulnerability assessments. Another key measure is the development of a robust national response plan. This plan should outline step-by-step actions to be taken in the event of a cyber attack on the power grid, from immediate containment strategies to long-term recovery efforts. Moving on to the individual level, there's a lot we can do to help protect ourselves. For one, we can educate ourselves about the risks and signs of cyber threats. Knowledge is power, and in this case, it might just keep the power on. Next, we need to consider the practical aspects of living without power. This means thinking about alternative energy sources like solar panels or generators. It's also worth investing in battery-powered or hand-cranked devices, such as radios and flashlights for communication and lighting needs. Finally, let's not forget the importance of having an emergency plan in place. This should include a clear communication strategy, safe meeting locations, and a store of essential supplies like food, water, and medical supplies. In a world where our digital infrastructure is more vulnerable than ever, prevention is key, but it's equally important to be prepared. After all, in the words of Benjamin Franklin, by failing to prepare, you are preparing to fail. So let's not be complacent, let's be proactive, let's implement these preventive measures and ensure we're ready for any potential grid down scenario. Prevention is the best defense, but preparedness is equally vital. Now, let's talk about what you can do to prepare for extended periods without power. The first step in personal preparedness is to have an emergency plan. This plan should include evacuation routes, meeting points, and a list of emergency contacts. It's crucial to have a hard copy of this information because, in a grid down scenario, your digital devices may not be available. Next, consider your energy alternatives. Solar power is a reliable and renewable source of energy. Solar panels can power essential devices and even heat your home. Portable solar chargers are also an excellent option for keeping mobile devices powered up. Don't forget about good old-fashioned manual power. Hand crank radios and flashlights can provide communication and light when you need it most. Water is another crucial element to consider. Store enough water for each person in your household to have at least 1 gallon per day for a minimum of 3 days. But remember, in a prolonged grid down situation, you'll need a way to purify water. Water purification tablets, boiling, or a high-quality water filter can help ensure your water supply remains safe to drink. Another key aspect of personal preparedness is food. Stock up on non-perishable food items that can sustain you and your family for at least 72 hours, but ideally for much longer. Canned goods, dried fruits, nuts and grains are all good options. Communication is also essential. In a grid-down situation, conventional means of communication might be unavailable. Having a battery or solar-powered radio can keep you informed about the situation. Additionally, consider investing in a satellite phone or walkie-talkies for communication within your family or group. Lastly, always keep a first aid kit on hand. Injuries can happen when you least expect them, and in a grid-down scenario, reaching a hospital might not be an option. Your kit should include bandages, antiseptics, pain relievers, and any necessary prescription medications. Remember, preparation is not about fear, but about empowerment. Being prepared gives you the confidence to face any situation, knowing that you have done your best to ensure the safety and well-being of yourself and your loved ones. Consider this. A recent simulation conducted by a national security agency shows just how devastating a nationwide power outage would be. It's a scenario that's not as far-fetched as you might think. In this simulation, a well-coordinated cyber attack targeted the nation's power grid, plunging the entire country into darkness. In the first few hours, it was an inconvenience. Traffic lights went out, mobile phones ran out of power. But as hours turned into days, the situation became dire. With no electrical power, water treatment plants shut down, leaving millions without clean drinking water. Supermarkets were unable to keep perishables fresh, leading to food shortages. Hospitals struggled to provide care without necessary equipment. In the longer term, the simulation predicted severe economic impacts. Without power, businesses couldn't operate, which led to widespread job losses. The stock market crashed and the economy plunged into a recession. And let's not forget about the social implications. In the absence of law and order, looting and violence became rampant. The simulation showed that a nationwide power outage would lead to a complete breakdown of society as we know it. As we've seen, the threat to our power grids is real and growing. The consequences of a nationwide power outage are too severe to ignore. It's a chilling reminder of the importance of preparedness in the face of such threats. This video has covered the essentials of how to prepare for and potentially mitigate the effects of a total grid down scenario. We've delved into the unnerving reality of our power grid's vulnerability, explored the far-reaching impacts of a grid shutdown, and shared key preventive measures. We've also provided practical tips on personal preparedness, helping you to become more resilient and self-reliant in the face of such a crisis. But remember, knowledge is power. It's only when we understand the magnitude of the threat that we can take effective action. The question is no longer if a grid down will happen, but when. And when it does, will you be ready? Are you ready to face a grid down? Subscribe for more insights and tips on how to prepare for and respond to emergencies. Share this video to spread awareness and help others get prepared. Drop a comment below with your thoughts or any preparations you've already made.